and lined up. Okay, so I can put my wedge in and just slightly smack that, and I'm just kind of looking to make sure that these are somewhat lined up where I want them. But asking about having a friend, if you're doing this with a hand drill, you need to kind of hold this and drill, which is really hard if you have this ring clamp on here. But this is it's a nice way to just transfer that hole. So I'm basically putting my bit, if you can see that, putting my bit right in the first hole that I made, and now I can press down and drill through the nickel silver. So now I'm through. Now, before I do anything else, I'm just going to take one of my rivets and slide that in, and this is going to help prevent this from shifting around. So the next step here, and I might have to again kind of angle my piece a little bit so that my rivet is still in that hole. And again, this is just going to help it prevent this from shifting while I drill the next one. So I have another rivet, and now I can actually move my ring clamp if I want, and it's not going to shift now since I have two in here. So now I can go back to just kind of holding this by hand. And then I'll put one more in here at this point, and then I have one more to go. All right, so all four of these rivets are lined up and fit in there. So now we have a couple more steps, and one is the length of the rivets sticking out. So we have far more than we need, so we have to cut that down. And this part ends up being a little tricky. And there's not, for these small rivets, there's not a perfect, formula for how long that rivet should be. But what I do is I'll take my little pocket ruler that you also have in your kit, and I'm measuring the thickness of the metal. And this, if I'm counting here, is about 1, 2, 3 millimeters. Okay, so we need that distance plus the diameter of this rivet. And we'll see if we can see this here, but that's about 1.5 millimeters. So, typically, on a rivet this size, what I will do is go 1 times the diameter, sticking past the thickness of the material that I'm connecting. So what that means is if this is 3 millimeters, I'm going to add another 1.5 millimeters to that rivet. So we'll have 1.5 millimeters sticking out. And we can do this kind of a number of ways. One of the best ways, I think, is to measure from that rivet head. And I'm just going to put a mark right on my ruler. I need to go 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So I'll put the rivet head right to the edge of the ruler. And then make a little mark right there on my rivet. And that's where I need to cut that. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You could use your side cutters and snip that. But the problem with that is it leaves a jagged edge. So I actually prefer to cut these with a jeweler saw. Now the difficulty about that is it ends up being kind of difficult to hang on to because it's so small. So I'll tighten my saw frame, and And sometimes what I need to do is, like, if I can get, you know, flat nose pliers here, and actually kind of squeeze that in, what I'll do is I'll put pressure down on the bench pin. And yeah, see, that must have slide. Now I'm barely putting any pressure on this whatsoever because it's a hard thing to hang on to. Now you'll actually see that I am cutting into the, and maybe see if I can move that a little bit. But you'll actually see that I'm cutting into the bench pin, which I don't even care. You know, these bench pins are really made to be replaced. But I don't even cut all the way through that. You know, I'll actually break the rest of that off. And now I'll hang on to the head and get like a small needle file and just lightly just file any burr off of that thing. And this is a little bit more difficult than it looks, you know, just because the dang things are so small, and I have, I don't know, big fat fingers. But if we look at this rivet now, you know, you can see that it's barely sticking out of there, but it is sticking out almost 1.5 millimeters. And you know, I'm slightly short, but that really doesn't matter. We don't want them too long because as we hit them or pound them down, the thing's going to bend and it's not going to mushroom the way we want it to. This will make sense in the next video. I'll cut the other 3 and then we'll come back and rivet these and connect the 2 pieces of metal.